Good show.
Well, Cornelia Meyer, CEO of MRL Corporation, a business consultancy, is here with us this morning to go through the papers. Morning, Cornelia. Nice to see you. Now, we're looking at the front page of The Guardian, and as we mentioned, it's pretty much on the front page of all the British papers this morning. Of course, it's a big case. Two senior British journalists in the dock for phone hacking allegations. But what's gathering, really getting our attention this morning is the fact that there is a big change, well, it's certainly being claimed to be a big change by many journalists, to the regulations that govern the way the British press, British media operates. And so we were wondering, Cornelia, because you're such an internationally well-travelled person, and what you make of British media generally and how it compares with perhaps other countries.
Well, I would say it's a tale of two media sets. I mean, you know, there's the BBC, there are the broadsheets, the Financial Times, and so on, and then there are the tabloids, and they have very different standards. And obviously there is, you know, there's the phone hacking scandals and other scandals that come out of the press, and that's why politicians and outraged citizens wanted regulation. This being said, Britain has a set of libel laws that are more stringent than in most other countries. So if you look at how many fact checkers, let's say a Financial Times employs versus comparable papers in other countries, it's much more. And obviously press freedom is something that we believe in. So it's a very, very difficult subject to do justice, because you can understand both sides. But given the libel laws, people are pretty protected. Obviously, it's only a protection ex post, after the deed is done. Whereas if you have a press regulator, maybe there will be more ex ante, before the deed is done.
Do you find that, I mean, we take a great deal of pride, don't we, here in the UK, in the vigorousness, the robustness of our reporting generally. But do you find sometimes they are a little, should we say, offensive?
No, I think they're cutthroat. It's cutthroat.
So you approve? You think it's
I think it's cutthroat. I don't approve of I approve wholeheartedly of the broadsheets and of the serious television stations, and especially if you're the BBC, you also have license fee money, so that gives big obligation, but
a lot of responsibility.
But you get rewarded for it. But you look at the tabloids. When I look at the tabloids, but the tabloids in all countries. I mean, in one of the German-speaking countries, there's a tabloid called Blick, and people joke and say, "Oh, Blick was there. He spoke to the body, to the dead body." You know, so the reporter spoke to the dead body. So you know, these tabloids, they're a little bit of a nuisance wherever you go.
Let's have a look now at the International New York Times, and this lady who has pretty much become internationally famous overnight, the Health and Human Services Secretary, Kathleen Sebelius. Now, she's sort of taking the rap for the fact that this website is not working. This is the website that is pivotal to Obamacare sort of getting started and going in the United States. Major disaster.
It's a major disaster, but as so often when you have huge projects, you know, the Airbus A380, the Boeing Dreamliner, this is a similar big engineering project. They have teething problems. So if you go out with them right away, full scale, maybe a good idea is, you know, to have some pilots, to run some pilots as they do in the
I mean, I must admit, I don't know if they did that or not. I mean, you would hope
I think they would. They didn't do it. Let's have one state go first and then roll it out. It is a major disaster. This being said, I mean, Obamacare does try to do the right thing by the majority of people. Look, we have the national health here. We are very proud. We are very proud of our national health service, of the NHS. This is finally trying to get people who are falling through the cracks in terms of insurance.
But what about the recovery from this? Because of course, you know, it's a political hot potato. It caused a government shutdown, and now this is
so polarized. And the government shutdown happened over this. The debt ceiling debate happened over this. It is so polarized in the US at this point that we have not seen the last of this.
All right, let's go on to the business section of The Independent, and it seems that it's another day, another banking scandal, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's funny. I have a column in Swiss Radio, and I said, "Will the bad news about Swiss banks never end?" And it's basically, will the bad news over the global banking sector never end? And this is, you know, Barclays was involved in the LIBOR scandal, as was UBS, and now they're both involved again in this. This is not good.
No, I was going to say, it's just that what's alleged is that traders across several banks in many countries actually agreed prices.
Yes.
And traded on their own books profitably before carrying out foreign exchange transactions for their clients. I mean, this is what the allegations are. And it's big, isn't it? I mean,
It's
as big as LIBOR.
It's big. It's as big as LIBOR if it's true, and it's as far-reaching as LIBOR. And especially, it's very hard for the new CEO of Barclays because he has promised to clean the corporate culture. But, you know, corporate culture is a very slow-moving thing, so he has his hands full.
Now, we're going to skip over the Financial Times and the Fed because there's plenty of that around, and I talk about it nearly every day. So let's talk about the Daily Express and their campaign, Martine.
Yeah, look at, have a look at that picture. I mean, I think it's pretty graphic. So the Daily Express, again, one of our tabloids, as we were saying earlier, can sometimes be considered to be offensive. Some people, I think, will think this is casual racism. I think the picture, a Roma woman with her plastic bag, "Britain is full up," says the banner. Say no to new EU migrants. Now, do you think any other tabloid would do that kind of, have that kind of naked message in other parts of Europe?
Absolutely, and I think if you look at other this new expansion of the EU really worries. I mean, the Swiss, for instance, they have a valve clause where they can say, well, we get less of the people, less free movement from certain countries. Racism and xenophobia is on the rise, and it's a scary thing.
Is this just a result of austere times and of economies being in the doldrums?
It's also a sign of bigger migration. Last time I was here, we discussed Lampedusa and all the immigrants wanting to come in. I think it's a sign of a lot of migration.
Cornelia, thank you very much indeed. We've had so much to say, haven't we? We haven't got through all the papers today.
We haven't this
morning.
morning.
Thank you very much for coming in. Thank you for being with us.
Bye-bye.